wanted to show you how to do a 5-minute real estate review using the Google Sheets software that we wrote. The first thing you're going to do when you get the link in your email is to click the link in the email, and it'll open up a browser and it will show you something along these lines, and it should say at the top 5-minute real estate review. This is Google Drive or Google Sheets, and so you'll see this URL up top. That doesn't matter. The only thing that you need to do first is to create your own sheet. You're not going to be able to edit this one. So the first thing you do is to go click the File menu here. Notice this is the Google File menu next to the green icon here, not the File menu up here, but the Google File menu. Click File, Make a Copy. You can name it yourself, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It'll default to say Copy of 5-minute real estate review, and it will save it in whatever folder you have it defaulting to save in Google Drive. You can access that again later at drive.google.com. So I'm going to click OK. That'll open up a new one. I'm going to go ahead, and while that's opening up, I'm just going to X this out, close that out, and we'll just open up the new one. So right now I have this browser open, and I also have another tab for RealTracs. We'll get to that in a minute. Before we jump into RealTracs, the first thing you want to do is go to the second tab here. Before we do that, you can see that I have written instructions here, so you can always reference those if you forget how to do this. But you click this second tab here, and you're going to see a lot of data here. We want to delete this because we're going to put new data in here. So just above the 1 and just to the left of the A is a little box, and you just click that, and it'll highlight everything, and then you hit your delete button on your keyboard. It takes a minute or two, and you'll see this little spinny thing, and then it should delete everything. So that's good. So that's all been deleted. Go ahead and leave your cursor in that A1 field, and then we're going to move over to RealTracs. So the first thing we want to do is to do a search. Once we do the search, we're going to then export that data. So I'm going to use my personal house as a reference. First thing we'll do is click Search Residential. And the idea behind this is to do just a market activity report. We're going to look at the last year of activity, and we're just going to look at all the activity in the last year. So we're not trying to run comps here. I'm going to zoom in to what my neighborhood is, and I just want to use the boundaries of my neighborhood and maybe any surrounding neighborhoods that are comparable. So I want to send out some information on just what that activity is. I'm going to use the draw tool here, click on the little squiggly line, and then I'm going to click the mouse and draw this map around my neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhood that is fairly comparable, and then I'll let go. And now I'm going to click on the status, click Select Status. I'm going to check all of these. You're going to go back 1 year on each of these except for the last one. So you just click 1 year on all these except for the last one. The reason you don't want to go back on the last one is because if you limit the under contract date to 1 year back, then it might stop closings. It won't look at any closings that were a year back. It'll probably only look at closings 10.5 or 11 months back. So leave that blank so you can look back at closings all the way back to a year. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and search. Now, obviously, you could narrow this down if you wanted to. My suggestion is to leave it completely open. If there's too many results, I think that's okay. Again, you're just sending your clients a market activity report. What you don't want to do is narrow it down so much that their house that is 2 doors down from them that sold is not on your report, and then they're not sure about the accuracy of your report. So here we've got all the information. I don't even care what this says. I'm not going to go through all these comps. Everything in here I'm going to leave. I click on the More button, and then you click Download. And this is important. I haven't selected anything, so I'm going to leave that checked as all. I'm going to leave that as all. The only thing you want to change is go from text to Excel, and then click Download. That will download in your Downloads folder, which is probably somewhere here. If you have a Mac or if you have a PC, it'll probably save it either on your desktop or a Downloads folder. Go ahead and open that up. Now, you probably do either have to have Excel or numbers on your computer. And if I can make this open, it might ask you a question. You're downloading a file from the internet. Is that okay? Yes, that's okay. And you go ahead and open it up. If you see where my mouse changes here, it changes when I put the arrow, or it changes to an arrow when I put it over the 1, go ahead and click on that and drag all the way down until the data stops. And then let go. Next thing you do is hit Command-C on a Mac or Control-C on a PC. And that's going to copy all of that data. Then you're going to go back to your web browser, click on the tab that is the Real Estate Review tab, click A1, the A1 cell, and then hit on a Mac Command-V, or on a PC it's Control-V, as in Victor, and that will paste the data. It takes a minute to paste this, and then once it pastes in, everything else will, generally speaking, happen automatically. The only thing that you have to do is change the names of the letter to show who you're sending this letter to. So we'll wait for a minute while that happens. So that's happening there. You'll notice right up here, that little status bar, if I click on this, it might show some data that's not correct. It'll show an error message there, an error message there. That's totally normal. While this is still going on, you're going to see errors. Okay, so now that is all done. This is the letter, and it just goes in order. All the tabs go in order down here. So you can see the data is automatic. So you could change the name, address, city, state, and zip of who you're sending it to. And then this field, you just double click that, change if it's Mary and Joe, you would change that and change that up there, obviously. You can customize this letter however you want. I would suggest not making it any larger or smaller than the boxes here, because it's set up to print evenly on a page, but change my name to your name, etc. Once that's done, you can click on the red chart, or the red tab here, and this prints all the charts. This prints all charts on one page. It makes it really easy. If you just want to keep it super short and sweet, you can do that. The tab, just for reference, that I skipped over, that tab is used if you want to use this software for a CMA. Just note that if you use it as a CMA, it defaults to 12 months. If you have to change that and you're only going 6 months back, be sure to change that. That's a side note on the letter for the Real Estate Review. It is automatically 12 months, so make sure you're running comps for 12 months. And you can print all these out. I have instructions on the left here, but generally speaking, they're super easy to print out. It has a little hint right here that says print it in portrait mode. So using the Google File menu, again, not the browser file menu, but the Google File menu, click Print, and you can double check it that it looks good there. It prints evenly on 3 sheets. That's in portrait mode. If it looks funny, then make sure it says Fit to Width right here. You can click Next, and then Print from my computer, and it will save a PDF of that in your Downloads folder, and will allow you to print that out. The next one, we'll go to the Charts tab. Notice that says down here, Landscape. You want to print that in landscape mode. So Print, we want to change that to landscape mode. It looks like it's really small here. It doesn't print that way. That's a new thing that Google's doing. For some reason, it shows up as small. That might be a bug that's getting fixed. Make sure it says Fit to Width, Next, Print from my computer, and it'll save in your Downloads folder. All of these charts, you can either have them all broken down on one page, like they are here, or if you want to do a larger scattergram, for instance, that's easier to read, you might want to print that out separately in addition to the main page. All of those charts are broken down. The last chart to print out is the list. So if you click on this and then you scroll down to the end of the list here, it will turn gray wherever there's no more data. Do not change any of this data. This is a lot of formulas in here, so just don't change that. If you click Shift and click that, it will highlight all of those cells, and then click File, Print, keep it in landscape, but we're going to make one change. We don't want to print pages and pages of gray boxes. So the only things we want to print are what we've highlighted. So we're going to go right up here at the top and say Selected Cells, and notice that it will only print 3 pages of those selected cells. Print from my computer. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing you probably would want to do is print a map of where all these listings are. Notice that they're numbered. The numbers should correspond with all the numbers here. I would love it if RealTracs would allow you to print 109 or 108 listings, but unfortunately they do not. The maximum is 30. So if you have 30 listings or less, you can print those by clicking Print, List plus Map, and it will let you print them. Unfortunately, RealTracs has a limit of 30, and if you have more than 30, then it won't let you do that. The workaround is to take a screenshot of the map. So go back to your Map tab, move that over to the center, maybe zoom in a little bit, and find that just right. On a Mac, if you click Shift Command 4, you can do a screenshot of this. Click and drag, and that will take a little screenshot of that map and all those numbers. If you're on a PC, I can't remember what the rule of thumb is for that, or the formula or the keystrokes, but you can Google it and find out. And that's generally it. So I know I call it a 5-minute real estate review. Obviously, I spent about 11 and a half minutes explaining this. But once you get the hang of it, you can do this in about 5 minutes. The last thing that I would suggest doing before you close out your browser is to save this. So if this was for, I forget the names of the people I had, Susan and John, there's a save button here so that when you go back next year, you don't have to redraw everything. You just click save, and I would write RER, Susan, John, and then maybe the central or the street name, and then click save. And then that's there under save search. If you need to access it later, it's under here. You can see I've got a lot of them down here, a lot of RERs. So those are all saved, and you can look at that and find it later. You might have a pattern. You might want to save it by last name, but I would suggest putting RER first. That way they don't blend in with any other saved searches. And that's it. Hopefully that was helpful. Best of luck with that. I'd suggest printing those out. Try to meet with your clients if you can. If you can't meet with them in person, then at least put it in the mail. And when you mail it, make sure you mail it in a great big envelope. And if you put a Post-it note on the cover of the packet inside the envelope with a handwritten note, just jot a note in there. Even put a piece of stationery note. At a minimum, do a Post-it note, and they'll have a higher likelihood of opening it up. And then be sure to follow up with a phone call after they receive it a few days later, and make sure that they were able to understand it and didn't have any questions. Hopefully that's helpful. If you need anything else, give Zach Goodyear a call, 615-268-5033, or my email, Zach, Z-A-C-H, @parks@home.com.